See, what we're not particularly realizing is cause and effect. Certain reactions or consequences to what we're doing right now in different nows. Nows within nows, planes within planes, domains within domains, forms within forms, places within places, spaces within spaces, aces within aces. What we're doing now, what we're particularly doing right now, we're kind of like writing our destiny. We're like planting our own seeds. We're being our own planners. We're being our own, we're rewriting our compatibility with the greater whole without us really realizing that in itself. Because what we're doing right now, we don't necessarily realize the impact of what we're doing right now. It's like it's making something. It's adjusting our life in like a future from a past, from how you're just presently a product of different futures and pasts. Because what you are right now, the product that you are right now, it was because you already went through, certain stargates within stargates within stargates, different types of stargates, not like we're all consciousness. So within that consciousness, not everybody has to live on planet Earth. Not everybody has to live in like this physical reality or this material reality. So we're going through different stargates. So we're kind of like, we could look at each other as like somewhat kin, friend and family, because we all like kind of chose to like be here for whatever reason. We're all on this Earth Stargate, and within us being the Earth Stargate, there was already pre-installed like processor notions. Meaning, what does processor notions mean? Meaning how we're being processed, what would be accounted for based on, because whatever we're doing right now, we're creating, collecting, and accumulating different types of energy resonances, synergy resonances, literally beyond like the termage of it, understanding it. We're like creating a certain type of resonance that is bleeding over into our physical reality and our physical mutation within itself. And our spiritual reality and our spiritual mutation is somewhat compressed, and it's brought light to within all the different thresholds it has to go towards that. Or it's not brought light to, and it has a particular type of dormancy, a dormancy where different parts of you are choosing to go and ignore that for whatever GMO reason, respectively. Because we're talking about acknowledging the balance in pretty much the spiritual knowledge that everybody is like attempting to bring forth. Because who's really to say how long will this earth be preserved until like the project Earth in itself is terminated? Because Earth will be here long after we're dead. 200 years after, 300 years after, 400 years after, 500 years after, 600 years after, 700 years after, 800 years after, 900 years after, and 1,000 years after. Most likely Earth will still be here. So if Earth is still here and it's not a probable logic, it's not a probable reality for someone to live up to 1,000 or even 200, even though there is an exception to the rule and there is an anomaly. I'm aware of that, but that's not typically the case at all. That's like 0.0000 and more zeros, 1%. So it's like, it's a super rarity. So we're like pivoting off of like fantasy sometimes, because we're taking like different contexts of life for granted. And what we're taking for granted is if we from a neutral perspective, if we totally ignore and avoid the intelligence that will liberate us, then without that intelligence that will liberate us, that's literally like you having a relationship and you creating a realm within the realm of ignorance in itself on a subtle level. Because that realm of ignorance, Earth is hosting that extreme duality. Pluto sees in extremities. What are you going extreme for? What are you going how extreme and emotional are you going towards the whole fucking pursuit? towards a certain, like, whatever you think is something of an ultimatum, and how you actually use your power. But it's not about how you're using your power, because this life, there's a background spiritual mechanic of life where you're only getting a certain amount of time to express your power within the human realm. And if you don't meet the certain quota per the certain new future realm field of it being like running off of different, algorithms, operating systems, and different protocols, principles, and pretty much different integers, factors, and facets, and variables of like other non-linear things that are like more real, energetic, spiritually, like a thing that acts as its own like field of mechanisms, and mechanisms of fields of where like what we're doing right now, it's based on all the different types of nine chakra centered habits patterns that we could create, because we're nine streamed beings. If we're nine streamed beings because we have like updated new nine chakras that are supporting ultimately and foundating the human being in itself, and the human, and just the human being template logistic, program project. And the program project is, quote unquote, respectively, human design, end quote. And I say that neutrally for anybody who will just like think in a like fragmented, distorted, detrimental way, because the conditioning is like, it's somewhat, quote unquote, endless, end quote. And what I mean by that is like, there's work for all the clearing of like a lot of shit to be done. Like, we're clearing like shit from like who knows how long ago. So however long it was, then that's the more time span of physical reality we have to clear based on our engagement with it, our relationship with it, and our interactions with it, from how it dissolves, transmutes in different aspects and contexts, and how it doesn't transmute and dissolve. And we're still working with different contexts and fields and integers of ignorance in itself, which creates a certain layer within the extreme duality of your surface level shadow character. And that surface level shadow character doesn't know what it does, because that's the essence of ignorance. That's the essence of like detrimental shadow. You're going towards more ignorance to create a field of ignorance within yourself, and you're not necessarily knowing the nature algorithm that is already got you accounted for, that like you don't even know all the shit that's really hidden fo. And what I mean by that hidden shit is like, you don't know how everything works, because if you did, you wouldn't be acting out of tune. Because why do bad things happen to good people? Those people were never good to begin with. They forgot how they were just fragmented and detrimental in a whole different life, and they're only giving what they gave, and from a different streamline, from how their spirit is traveling through different stargates over the lives and incarnations, because ultimately nature is accounting for how, like, what you've already done, and what you've already done, and how you like, because like this is Saturday, like that, like on a spiritual level, this shit is being fucking accounted for. And what the fuck do I mean by that? What the fuck I mean by that is, it's being accounted for like on a different level, because karma doesn't forget. And it's like, and I'm not trying to like be all like flop tone with that shit, like, oh, I'm using this as whatever you think I'm using it for. No, it's a fucking real thing. I'm not trying to be flop tone with that shit. What I'm trying to be is like, we don't know like how we're setting ourselves up, and like if we don't have that intelligence, like it's self-evident and it's self-proven that like nature's doing her own fucking karma mechanism shit. So within that karma mechanic mechanism shit, she's accounting for everything that we're doing right now is more significant than ever, because there's a particular type of alignment within alignment within alignment. There's shell cases within shell cases within shell cases that are having an alignment that hasn't been reached in this timeline, and how far we've traveled within this binary star Sirius belt cycle respectively. And within that binary star Sirius belt cycle, we're at a certain level we haven't reached for a long time per this individual timeline, because this individual timeline is granting us a certain level that we've reached collectively out from an original falling darkness, which is like, could be estimated like somewhere from now in between 64,000 years ago. And we came out of that. And since we came out of that, there's a glorious alignment that we're taking for granted, because what we're doing and how we're taking advantage of, just from a neutral perspective, how we're taking advantage of purity and balance, like nature's accounting for that. And on Saturday, on the spiritual realms, if anything now, so anybody who's really like planning some sketchy shit, you're out of tune, you're out of tone, you're out of pocket, because the field in itself of the future is changed, and everything's more enhanced and amplified and more self-evident and more transacted on a more balanced spiritual level. If the balanced spiritual level is coming to ground within this field of now, time, space time, of like casual nowness to every other nowness, it's being grounded more so. So there's a particular type of acceleration of like everything that we do right now, it will come back to us in a way you don't know. So you got to really chill on this